Okay, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar titled Legal Aid for Refugee Claimants. My name is Bahar Taheri, project consultant with the BC Refugee Hub, and I'll be guiding us through today's session. I'm joining you from the unceded traditional territory of the Coquitlam First Nation, which lies within the shared territories of the Tsleil-Waututh, Katzie, Musqueam, Kakite, Squamish, and Stolo nations. It's important for me to acknowledge the lands that I'm privileged to live, work, and raise my children on as a way of showing respect and honoring the Indigenous peoples of these lands. Acknowledgement for me is a simple way of resisting the erasure of Indigenous histories and working towards honoring and inviting the truth. ISS of BC's BC Refugee Hub would like to gratefully acknowledge the funding for this project from the province of British Columbia through the Ministry of Post-Secondary Education and Future Skills. So I'd like to provide just a quick intro to the BC Refugee Hub to anyone who may not be familiar. The BC Refugee Hub was established in 2015 by ISS of BC and funded by the province of British Columbia, originally in response to the arrival of Syrian refugee families. Today, our focus is on refugee claimants through the BC Safe Haven funding that we receive through the province of British Columbia. We offer a wide range of tools, fact sheets, training sessions to support the sector and promote services across British Columbia. The BC Refugee Hub maintains a service directory that is updated quarterly. It includes programming details and referral contacts. I'll post the link for that, the latest version, in the chat box. We update that once a quarter usually. We also have monthly activities. We do weekly updates and monthly e-newsletter. We send those out. You can join on our website. We also collaborate regularly with our partners at VAST, MapBC, and AMSA. If you have any events, services, or programs you'd like to feature in the BC Refugee Hub, you can email us at refugeehub@issbc.org. So I believe Kieran Davis usually joins us to provide a short introduction to the BC Safe Haven Resource Network.
Thank you, Bahar. I'd like to offer a brief land acknowledgement. As a provincial umbrella association, AMSA acknowledges that BC is on the unceded homelands of First Nations who have stewarded this land since time immemorial. We recognize the privilege that we have as settlers on this land and acknowledge that AMSA's operations are on the unceded traditional territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. As an organization, AMSA is committed to creating a safe space for Indigenous voices. The BC Safe Haven Resource Network is a collaborative program providing key supports to refugee claimant serving organizations in BC. The resource network is collaboration and partnership focused. It includes multiple partner organizations who play a key role creating resources for direct service providers. The BC Safe Haven Resource Network has 4 initiatives. The capacity building activities include webinars, fact sheets, and many other resources, as well as supporting organizations to develop humanitarian movement plans. Our mental health activities include in-person workshops, e-learnings, and information sessions, and a phone line for frontline service providers to get support as they work with vulnerable clients. Our language activities include the development of the BC Safe Haven curriculum guidelines, which provide guidance and information for those working with refugee claimants in language classrooms. And finally, our public support gathering is engaged through ACE's AMSA's charitable arm in partnership with United Way BC to build community support for refugee claimants, including public awareness, donations, volunteerism, and other community-based supports. I encourage you to connect with AMSA on LinkedIn, Facebook, and X, formerly Twitter, and visit our website at www.amsa.org for many resources, e-learnings, and recent reports. Thanks, and back to you, Bahar.
Thank you, Kieran. So we're excited to welcome our speaker and topic expert today, Chad Gotro, from Legal Aid BC. Like I mentioned earlier, we will have a Q&A session after the presentations. Okay, over to you, Chad.
Yes, Bahar, thank you for introducing me. Hi, everyone. My name is Chad Gotro. I'm the Community Engagement Coordinator at Legal Aid BC. That's with our Public Legal Education and Information Department. And I am also joined by Eduardo. He is our longtime team member here. He is our Legal Aid Navigator Supervisor. He'll be joining just in the groups, just in the chat. He'll speak if there's any direct comments after my session here. Yeah, we can move things a bit along here. And I do want to start with our land acknowledgement. I do want to mention we are gathered on the unceded, or specifically myself, gathered on the unceded territory, traditional territory of the Coast Salish peoples, including the territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations, respectively. Really appreciate everyone joining today. And the topic will be to really cover what legal aid can help with refugee claimants, what legal aid can help with immigration in itself, our services being advice, representation, and information. And I want to cover just a bit first on the specifics for getting approved for a lawyer to represent you, or for a refugee claimant to be represented by a legal aid lawyer. So first, with Legal Aid BC, we do provide services to individuals with low incomes who need legal aid help that have coverable issues and are financially eligible. To qualify, a person must have a legal problem covered by legal aid, meet the financial eligibility guidelines, which are based on net household income and assets, of course, being the coverage for the case itself, and as well as the financial situation of the applicant. So who is exactly covered by legal aid? Who is actually covered by legal aid? So when you talk about coverage, your legal problem must be covered by legal aid guidelines. For immigration specifically, there either is a situation where your case is likely successful for refugee claim, whether there be an I or B appeal, whichever case it may be. This does affect our other issues, including criminal law, family law, child protection, and immigration. But specific to immigration, we look at the case itself and its eligibility. And of course, not all legal problems are covered. One example would be a first-time shoplifting offense if you're applying for a criminal law lawyer. Um, with those cases, it depends on our policies and our coverage, and might be eligible for maybe a limited contract, but generally, that we might not be able to cover representation in those cases. So there is a idea of coverage balancing that our intake team makes an assessment on, including we also have our own department for immigration applications. So we have assessment lawyers that look at coverage decisions as well. For financial eligibility, so for legal aid, for us at Legal Aid, we have increased the amount of what someone can earn to receive legal aid, and the income guidelines for representations has increased by 3.9%. Of course, being the amounts they are, um, as much as we can support those and the high costs across BC, we try to, as much as we can, um, try to align ourselves with the cost of living adjustment for the income guidelines. And just to give you a better picture, as of April 1st, 2025, for a one-person household, they have a refugee claim and they're applying for a lawyer. Their net income would have to be under $2,320 to generally be financially eligible for a lawyer to take on their case and have legal aid funding to support their claim application. And the prices are so forth from 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or more. And this does give you a representation of other cases like family, criminal, and specifically limited representation, which is specific to only child protection, criminal matters, and family court matters. And specific for refugees as the topic for today. So under the category of refugee and immigration, legal aid does provide support to asylum seekers and refugee claimants by offering them access to lawyers who will guide them through their legal processes. And to access these services, those individuals must contact our intake workers either through our call center or in person at our downtown Vancouver office just on 510 Burrard Street. Sorry. And I just got some information below on how to contact the call center, whether it be the local 604 number. We also have a 1-888 toll-free number anywhere else in BC. And it is important that the individual you're assisting to apply for LABC assistance or representation, that the claimant is residing in BC, or at least their case is occurring or being assessed in BC, and they're still in Canada at the least at that time. If they're calling from another country, legal aid wouldn't be able to create an application until they're in Canada. Just in case anyone had questions about that. And of course, once the application is then received, it is reviewed by an immigration lawyer to determine its merit. With our immigration lawyer, if it's more complex cases, it could just be our intake team member approving for refugee claim application for a lawyer to help them. Of course, a financial assessment is also required, and if that claim is deemed eligible and will likely be successful in the immigration refugee court, we will assign a lawyer to the client. And if not, we'll provide information and resources to help them seek assistance elsewhere. And with the elsewhere point, we do have our information resources on our website for the publications. And specifically at the end of our slides, I have just two other organizations that were in contact, in more frequent contact with those that are not eligible. They do have a right to appeal as well, but once you get that information, there's a whole process written on the refusal letter, and I'm happy to answer questions later about that as well. So for Legal Aid BC, we fund applications to individuals who are residing in BC for the following. So with refugee status under Section 96 of IRPA, fear of prosecution for reasons of race, religion, nationality, membership in a particular social group or political opinion. So refugee status, fleeing a country for these reasons. Protection under Section 97 of the IRPA, fear of torture, risk of life, or risk of cruel and unusual punishment or treatment. So serious risk of harm if they were to return to that home country. For permanent resident status on humanitarian compassionate grounds under Section 25 of the IRPA for applicants who face unusual, undeserved hardship in their country of origin, as well as pre-removal risk assessment applications, which help people who are eligible to make refugee claims in Canada to still have the risk assessment be submitted still. And just a further note, we do fund appeals, judicial reviews of some immigration and refugee, the IRB Canada decisions, just based on merit. And generally that is with our immigration lawyers. Those reviews tend to be 2 to 3 business days, as I've heard, because of course we want this action to be taken. We want the review to be done in a timely manner, especially with IRB decisions, anything to do with immigration status. Our intake team and our assessment lawyers try to make that decision as soon as possible for representation here. And just to give you a better image of what our immigration contracts look like at Legal Aid BC and the quantity of those applications. So more recently, for the last 10 years, there's been a steady uptick. And as you can see with 2020 during the pandemic, there was a drop in the amount of immigration contracts. So that would be standard immigration contracts, whether it be IRB appeals. It could be a specific schedule base that's more aligned with duty council. But if you do look at our totals, we've gone from 2015-2016 fiscal year for 1,067 contracts, and as of 2024-2025, 4,146 application or contracts, sorry. And with the 2025-2026, that's still an ongoing amount, so that hasn't been finalized just yet, obviously, until the end of March. So it has been quite a steady increase, and that has really affected with legal aid as well in terms of staffing, having enough full-time, part-time staff to fulfill the applications, to make the decision, get the process going for refugee and newcomers to apply for and to get immigration contracts with the legal aid lawyer. So there's a portion here I want to mention about legal aid navigators, which we have included our supervisor Eduardo in this presentation here, just listening on the side. So for legal aid navigators, it is a group of individuals at our Vancouver office. We have a few as well across BC. But generally, it began in September 2023 with the objective of providing legal information to our clients across various legal areas covered by our organization. That includes all areas that are criminal law, immigration, refugee matters, family law, and child protection. We currently have 11 Navigator team members managing a caseload of over 8,904 active Navigator clients to date. So that is the amount of clients that have come to Legal Aid BC to get assistance. They're facing one or two, possibly, or maybe more of these issues, and they need that additional assistance. So with the navigators, in addition to serving as a source of legal information, they can also mediate between lawyers and clients, any cases of conflicts, connect clients with various organizations, assisting with housing, food resources, applying for financial aid, assisting with finding mental health support, other relevant needs. So this kind of works just while the lawyer can focus on the legal matter at hand, and that gives a bit more time for the navigator to work on the other secondary third issues just while the process is ongoing. And a great boon, as our clients have described the program as a fundamental help in establishing themselves in Canada and clearly understanding the legal process as well. Eduardo, do you have a note, or was that anything you wanted to add?
You know, the navigators are not restricted to a few things. Depending on the case, we are able to assist people with things that we don't usually cover for everybody, but if there are limitations of language, body ability, mental health issues, we can go a little beyond what we do for the majority of the people. We try to be as helpful as possible. And so don't feel that there are limitations. You can always talk to us and we can try to adapt the work that we do to the needs of the client.
Exactly. Thank you, Eduardo. And a portion of the interpretation is with Legal Aid BC, we do have interpretation services. So if your client is calling in, visiting our Vancouver office, the intake worker can get an interpreter on the phone, on speakerphone with them as well. That's a service that navigators can obtain if assisting a client outside of meeting intake, or maybe the navigator is the first person they talk to. They can have that interpretation services, and we do have a few navigators that I know one I think speaks Punjabi, and then I believe there's other languages as well. I don't want to speak out of turn.
Punjabi, Hindi, Spanish, French, and some others. Yes, and we do go and work with intake when they have a person that speaks Spanish or French or Punjabi, and we're able to facilitate communication right from the beginning. We, Legal Aid, have an agency that provides interpreters for us, but sometimes it's very difficult to assess what language we need to be working with. And that's when the navigator is key, when we go out there and find out what the language of the person is, and some of the initial documents or situations that we need to be aware of to help intake.
Exactly. And yeah, with the navigators, speaking of in the office, they can also there's opportunities for them to travel. So if they're in a part of Vancouver or Burnaby, they could visit them as well. But that's more case specific instances. But no, I appreciate that comment, Eduardo. Um, I did want to mention before a couple of resources that we're in major contact with when we're supporting clients as well. Just a few examples. I want to talk about specific application considerations. So refugee claimants applying for a lawyer. These are kind of key instances you want to be aware of. So once a lawyer has submitted documentation specific for the refugee claim to the IRB, there will be a period of at least 1 year of no communication. This is unfortunately because of a backlog as well, with the amount of claims being sent in to the IRB. The processing time has been a bit delayed, and it's not unusual to wait for up to that amount of time before any new communication. If there has been any travel by the clients, maybe they're living in another province, that would be important to infer to their lawyer or to let the intake worker know as well. And to know that when the IRB hearing is scheduled, the legal aid lawyer will reach out to the client. And during this time, the client needs to keep contact information up to date with the lawyer, as well as the IRB. Very important to keep that constant communication and that information to be updated as much as possible, including intake if they're waiting for a decision or anything else they're waiting for.
It's imperative that the client tells the lawyer and communicates with intake about their phone number, address, and email addresses. I have interviewed many clients that said, oh, yeah, I gave you that information already. And I start asking them, is your phone number X? Is your email Y? Is your address Z? And in 90% of the cases, everything has changed. So just make sure that you have an updated contact information for the clients and that they contact IRCC to give them that information, because if they are trying to contact the client and the client has the wrong address, all the communications will go to the wrong address, and it's going to be difficult for them to get in touch with IRCC.
Exactly. No, thank you for adding that. And yeah, with the moving portion I was speaking about, if a client has moved to BC after making a claim in a separate province, maybe Ontario, maybe in Saskatchewan, ask if they can still work with their lawyer from the prior province, and if that's not the case, then have them contact Legal Aid BC. It's nice that all IRB hearings are virtual, so there's a chance that they could work with the prior lawyer from the other province, but if not, they can still contact and apply with Legal Aid. Anything to do with change of counsel requests. So if the refugee claimant, the client is not working well with the lawyer, maybe there's communication problems, there's been a delay in submission of the documentation to the IRB, we can help the intake team here, sorry, can help make a new make a new kind of request, which would be applying for a different lawyer, which will require a new financial eligibility assessment if a request comes in after 90 days from when the applicant originally made their application to get a lawyer to help them. So it's important that if it's been over 3 months and they're only discovering the issues after that time, intake sort of treats it as a new assessment at that point, just so you're aware. It's important to know that lawyers cannot expedite IRB hearings. So clients asking for that or asking for a change of counsel because of that request, it may be refused on that basis. And if you are with a client needing help to reach intake or the intake worker is not getting back to them, you can sign a consent form and I can forward that after the presentation. So you're authorized to speak on the client and you can be allowed to listen or to get information from their prior application, talk to intake about their case. Otherwise, if it's a specific case instance, you can write to me or Eduardo. I'm happy to add my contact information and my email afterwards here. And if a client does want an IRB appeal, it's important that they must bring their IRB decision documentation for review. So there's been a request denied possibly. We need intake will need as much documentation as possible to make the right decision and to forward it to our assessment lawyer team to make sure that decision's approved there, depending on it's been approved now or as opposed to denied for such and such reason. But again, that's more case to case as well. And I did want to mention just a couple of resources. I know with the topic I was asked about that when clients are refused, where can you refer them to? When I was at intake, we had quite a referral for immigration and refugee legal clinic. Luckily, they are actually in our head office here at Legal Aid, so kind of a one-stop shop. If there's information or they need legal advice, we can refer them to the legal clinic. As well as ISS of BC has been a frequent resource for me when helping refugee clients. So just want to mention those two here, and that's just two of many I do understand.
Thank you for inviting us, Bahar.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. I know it's a very busy time for everybody. It's end of fiscal. There's so many changes in the sector. So thank you so much for joining us today, answering our questions. Yeah, there's a lot going on in the world. So I wanted to thank our audience as well for joining us today. Thank you again to the province of British Columbia for your support and your funding of the BC Refugee Hub, the BC Safe Haven Resource Network, which supports trainings like this here today. And if you haven't joined our e-newsletter, please, you can go to our website at bcrefugeehub.ca. And at the bottom, oh, here it is. Here it is. You can also take your phone out right now and do it. But basically at the bottom, it says join our e-newsletter. And yeah, and then you'll be on our e-newsletter list. Okay, I hope it's sunny where you are. Have a great afternoon. Thank you again for joining us, and thank you to Con for your tech support in the background, and Eduardo and Chad for joining us for the presentation today. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.